Well, hey, everybody. I think if you've known me any period of time, especially if you knew me as a kid, you'd know that, well, William would love doing search. Why? Because he likes introducing his friends to other friends. I mean, that's like my favorite thing to do is connect friends. And it's why I was more of an evangelist as a pre. I want to connect you to my friend named Jesus. Like, this is my love. And I'm so excited to connect you today to Jenni Catron. Jenni is such a good friend that I think I actually know how to say her name correctly now.
You
So,
do. You do.
yeah,
You got it right.
in Texas, some of us, not the good Christians, but some of us drink tequila every now and then, and we want to say Catron, but
I get that a lot. I get that a lot. Not just the Texans.
well, Jenni and I have been connected for a long time, all the way back to, I guess we met in a cafeteria. I don't know if you remember that. I met you at Casey Graham was putting on a workshop
That's right.
about giving or something or another, and I was speaking
Yes.
and you were there, and I think it might have been in the cafeteria. Did Crosspoint used to meet there or something back when you were working there? Or I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember, where were we? But yes, and that's a long time ago.
A while ago. And the amazing thing is neither one of us have gotten older.
Not at all. Not at all. There's no additional gray hair. It's all good. It's all good. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Well,
Yeah, it has been. We're fortunate, William, to have just years of friendship and then work partnership as well, which is great.
well, I kid a little bit to say we haven't gotten any older. I'd like to think we haven't. I look at pictures and, before I worked with churches all the time, I had a lot more hair. And before the pandemic, I didn't have any gray hair.
Right.
But we are aging, and it's so funny. I can see the stock photos of a speaker, and they don't update their speaker photo for what seems like 100 years, and you go, "Come on, man, get on."
Right.
I
Yeah.
I think that is actually how teens slip into a bad culture. I think,
Oh, say more
think
about that.
well, I think they think they're doing okay, and it is okay, but
Right.
then you just kind of get in a rut, and your self-awareness is not good,
Yeah.
and it takes some outside eyes to help you have the clarity to say, hey, you probably need to work on this, or you need to work on that. And I'm a student of this, but I'm not an expert of it. And I am just thrilled when I heard that you were launching a course on culture. That I've always been a fan of the Foresight Group, but this particularly caught my eye because, frankly, I think if teams could get their culture right, I probably would be unemployed. Uh,
That might be true, but probably not realistic. So that's good. Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing with this new course, and before you do that, give us a little bit of backdrop because some people may not know you.
Sure.
We brag on you all the time, but there's always somebody that maybe they haven't heard.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for the conversation, and always a good excuse to get time to catch up. But so served in executive director, executive pastor positions for about 12 years at two different churches, and just remarkable privilege to serve two large, fast-growing churches. Worked in the music business before that, which was really when I developed my passion for healthy teams and great culture, and was a part of just a fantastic organization that really built a healthy team dynamic. And I think that set the tone for me to say, this is what it should look like. Like, we should love being a part of a great organization. We should want to contribute. It should be clear how we're aligned and how we're working together, et cetera. And so that was my backstory. I took that into ministry and just had the privilege of being a part of a church plant from the very beginning. Was able to hire most of the team and built just a remarkable staff team and just a phenomenal group of people who were committed to helping get a young church kind of off the ground and growing rapidly. And those are just some of the best days of my life, are those moments when you get to align a group of people around a shared goal and just unleash their gifts to accomplish that goal. But what I discovered is that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes to make that a reality. There's a lot that leaders are doing to set and create a healthy culture. And the course that we just launched it's in a umbrella of courses called Culture Works, but this particular course is the values course, because I really think the values are kind of that foundational building block to healthy culture, right? And you guys do this so well at Vanderbloemen. Like, I quote some of your values all the time. My favorite one is ridiculous responsiveness. And I want to share my experience of that, but I want you to give the backstory on it because it helps set the framework for why I think values are so core to culture. But like, I have experienced this from every person I interact with on your team, including you, that if I reach out to you, William, like I hear from you immediately. If I reach out to somebody on your team, I'm getting rapid response from them, even if it's I'll be back in touch with you on more details at such and such time. Like that ridiculous responsiveness is just core to how you guys function as a team. And what I say that values do is they set a framework. They help us know how to behave as a team. Like, what are the principles that guide how we interact? And that's what the values course does. But I think that particular value from you guys is so key. I'd love for you to speak to it a little bit, because that's been a big part of the Vanderbloemen culture.
Well, some people just call it OCD. But
you just put some good language around it, which is...
I prefer calling it CDO because that's alphabetical. No, that value was born out of me. We put our life savings on the line and started this new idea for churches, which was kind of a stupid thing to do in the fall of 2008. I learned real fast, if I don't have clients, we don't eat. And
right.
Someone called and said, "Could you help me?" I'm like, "Hello, I'm here."
Yep.
And I was amazed how many people said, "I can't believe you actually got back to me." And I remember when I was a super young senior pastor, I think I was 27, and pastoring this church in Montgomery. And one of the leaders of the community, who actually ended up serving as mayor for a long time in Montgomery, he said, we ought to call about that. We were looking for a property to worship in because we were building. And he said, I think we could probably get into this YMCA that was near our property. He said, I think if you call he'll take your call and we can get something worked out. I'm like, okay, good, I'll do that. And then he just looked at me. We were standing in my office and he said, "When?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "What good reason do you have not to call him right this minute?" And
yes, yep.
Okay, leadership lesson started. Now my poor staff has had to live with that for the rest of forever, but it is who we are. And I think it's not just how we function, it's how we dysfunction.
Oh, it's so true. Well, and I love how you said it came from you, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of leaders I work with don't understand, that they are instinctually operating from a set of values that they are expecting their entire team to operate from, but they haven't articulated them. Maybe not even to themselves, and then they haven't clarified them for their team. And therefore, then you end up with this delta between the leader's expectations, the staff members' expectations, because they've come from some other environment or culture where ridiculous responsiveness wasn't a thing.
Right. And they might be really talented, but not have that one dysfunction, and they're not fitting in and they're wondering why.
Why?
I was years ago, we were studying what are the common threads among companies, churches, nonprofits that win best places to work.
Uh-huh.
And we learned this values course idea. And I was talking to Rick, who runs this big church called North Point, for Andy. And he said, we just had to do our values. We have 6 of them. I'm like, okay, how long did it take you? And he said, it took a year. I'm like, what? He said, well, what we thought people knew, they didn't know there was a communication gap. I'm like, don't you have a pastor that's pretty good at communication? Like,
right? Yeah.
Andy didn't get, and they're like, no, that's exactly it. We had to stop with 400 employees, because you know how it is when you get 400 employees, William. I'm like, no, I really don't.
I don't. It's a different scale. Yeah, that's perfect.
But yeah, it's hard. It doesn't matter if you're the coolest cat on the block. You've got to do the hard work. So that's what kind of lit me up about you offering this course for people. Tell me, like, the brass tacks, like, where do we go? What's the link? How much am I gonna have to pay you? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah. So the course really walks you through this whole concept of, hey, extract those values that are already in you. They're already a part of who you are as a leader and as a team. And sometimes you have to define the things that are true and what you wish is true, and then figure out the delta between those. So in the course, I walk you through that of like, okay, hey, let's get those values clarified. Let's talk about the beliefs and the behaviors behind them. and help you put language around them that really help them connect with your staff. So it really takes you through that process that, like you said, took North Point probably about a year. That's it. When I did this with the teams I worked with, it took about 6 months of just really trying to comb through those. So we try to help you accelerate through that by giving you the process through the course. But you just go to our website, getforesight.com. It's the
with the number 4, right?
It's with the number 4. The word get, G-E-T, the number 4, and the word sight, S-I-G-H-T.com. It's right there on the homepage. The course is $248. It's 6 modules, like a robust workbook that goes along with it. And it really just walks you through all of those pieces to help you get those values established that become the guiding principles, the filters for decision making that are really key to helping set your become that foundation for great culture within your team.
Well, it's when people take this course, it makes my job easier, because then when we have to go find a staff person, it's like, we need somebody that fits. Well, guess what? If you know your DNA, I can do a tissue match. If you don't know your DNA, you're going to leave it to me to figure out.
That's exactly right. I was going to say, you wrote the book, Culture Wins, a couple years ago, and which is a great resource as well to help people just understand, what does healthy culture look like? Because then it does inform. You're going to make bad hiring decisions. You're going to, if you don't have your culture clearly defined, and that just accelerates what you guys are able to do when you serve organizations.
Well, answer me a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. Can culture fit be taught?
Great question. So here's the way I approach it. I approach it in that you need to test for culture in the hiring process.
Right. But let's say you hire somebody because they were your buddy at Liberty or whatever school you went to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know them, which, golly, about a nickel for every bad. I got a bad hire, but I knew him.
Yeah.
They get there and they don't fit the culture. Can you decode them and recode them, or no? Yes or no?
Yes or no? I'm going to lean towards no. And here's why I think there's a distinction. We mistake chemistry for culture.
Yes.
And so, there's the familiar 3 C's of hiring: character, chemistry, and competency. I was like, what am I looking for? It's the end of the day when we're recording this. The 4th one is culture. And most leaders I know mistake chemistry for culture.
Chemistry is, would I go have a Patron
Yes.
with that person? Would I go
Yes.
want to hang out with that person? And it's totally different.
Well, and I think you and I keep hearkening back to the ridiculous responsiveness value that you guys have. But if that's not in somebody, that's pretty hard to teach. I'm guessing you probably can speak to that.
I've even found, Jenny, that it might be in somebody and then not for a season.
Oh, sure.
We've had people have multiple babies at once and a spouse that works, and they've got to be home, and they literally would have to neglect their children and they're like, for this season.
I can't meet that expectation.
Well, I think chemistry and culture can be a seasonal thing. I mean, as we've grown as a firm, there've been people who were here who were absolutely right for who we were.
Yep.
And then they get to a place like, I want to go back to a smaller company. And now we have people who are, so I just think it's an interesting question. I tell people that there's some exceptions, but I think you can teach competency, but you can't teach culture.
I agree.
There's some, I don't really care if the pilot of the airplane I'm in is a culture fit. I just want him to not wreck, right? So competency
is key on that one. Yes. Yep.
But for the most part, I just don't know that it can be taught. So I would encourage you, if you're a leader today and you're saying, I don't even know the first thing about this, a couple steps, baby step. You can go to theculturetool, TOOL.com, and take our little culture survey. That'll show you general health. And you know what we do when you take that, and then we're going to kick you to Jenni and say, now you need to get some real work done. But there's a free thing as a starting point. There are several books that are out there that are really good. And then Jenni's got a lot of free resources at getforesight.com. And eventually you'll come around and take that course. But Jenni, I am super, super excited to see what you're doing. Not because it's just exciting to see someone do it, but I remember when you were starting this out and you're like, I think I might go try this out. I think I might. And it is so fun to watch a person succeed when they follow God's plan. And you're just
Thank you.
a great thing for the church. So
Well, I appreciate that. You're a big champion of me, and I have always been, but especially in starting Foresight, and the work we're doing, and the partnership with you guys has been just a gift. So thanks, William. I appreciate
good
that so
thing.
much.
Okay, guys, you've gotten to be a part of me doing my very favorite thing, connecting friends. And we look forward to seeing you again and another chance to connect you with even more ways to help your church or your ministry go farther and faster.